Phil Bodkin is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do. Kosick is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions.
This first flying lap will give us some insights into how Daniel Kosick's car is performing today.
Now, several laps into the session, Ben Nadine looks to refine their line and timing. Knockoff Nigel just clocked 5:47.770. Can they improve on this lap? Bodkin is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Ben Nadine has set a best lap time of 2:11.611 so far.
Ben is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Bodkin is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. With just 50 minutes left, the pressure is on for drivers to finalize their setups.
Every minute counts now, and the drivers know it. This is when we see some of the most aggressive tuning and testing.
Now, several laps into the session, Nigel Walters looks to refine their line and timing. Bodkin is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Ben Naden just clocked 2:11.611. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Ben Nadine is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Daniel's last lap was a 2:10.388, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Daniel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
I hear that Nigel is a pretty keen skier and snowboarder.
He's certainly got a mountain to climb if he wants to do well in this race.
Now, several laps into the session, John Bountakis looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, John Bountakis is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Wallstrom just clocked 9:46.275. Can they improve on this lap? Phil Botkin has set a best lap time of 2:09.606 so far. Now, several laps into the session, John Bountakis looks to refine their line and timing.
John is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
David Constable-Berry is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Sten Wallstrom just clocked 2:13.510. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Sten Wallstrom is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
That is a great-looking livery on Nigel's car.
Apparently Mag Arnold does the designs for him.
I miss that guy. Hopefully we will see him back on track one day. John's last lap was a 2:08.238, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
John is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now, several laps into the session, Daniel Kosick looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Daniel Kosick is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:13.510 so far.
Sten is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
John's last lap was a 2:08.238, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Now, several laps into the session, Nigel Walters looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Nigel Walters is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:13.510 so far. John's last lap was a 2:08.020, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Elliot Norton begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions.
This outlap is crucial for setting up the car's systems and getting a feel for the track.
Jimmy Lindo begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions. Elliot Norton begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions. Now several laps into the session, Sten Wallstrom looks to refine their line and timing.
Sten is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Bathurst just clocked 7:39.274. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Phil Bodkin is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Joel Limrich begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions. Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:11.919 so far.
Sten is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Nigel's last lap was a 2:09.368, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Sten Wallstrom just clocked 2:11.919. Can they improve on this lap? Jimmy Lindo is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do. Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:11.919 so far.
As the session progresses, Sten Wallstrom is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Now, several laps into the session, David Constable-Berry looks to refine their line and timing. Lindo is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Joel Limrich begins their outlap, feeling out the track conditions. Stan Wallstrom just clocked 3:53.622. Can they improve on this lap? David Constable has set a best lap time of 2:09.525 so far. Lemrich is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Hailing from the quaint town of Melton Mowbray, Nigel must be really pumped to be here today.
Isn't that where they make all the pork pies?
It is, so let's hope he's not eating all the pies and giving himself some extra ballast. Lemrich is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Now, several laps into the session, Jimmy Lindo looks to refine their line and timing.
Jimmy is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Nigel's last lap was a 4:42.597, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Nigel Walters is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Donkey Kong just clocked 2:09.761. Can they improve on this lap?
Daniel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
David Constable has set a best lap time of 2:09.104 so far.
As the session progresses, David Constable is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Nigel's last lap was a 2:09.532, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Nigel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now, several laps into the session, David Constable-Barry looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, David Constable-Barry is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Wallstrom just clocked 3:53.622. Can they improve on this lap?
Sten is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Jimmy Lindo has set a best lap time of 2:09.490 so far. Now, several laps into the session, Sten Wallstrom looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Sten Wallstrom is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Jimmy's last lap was a 2:09.490, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Neil Constable-Barry is on the practice outlap, warming up the tires. Lemrich just clocked 2:07.962. Can they improve on this lap?
Joel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:11.919 so far. Norton is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. Daniel's last lap was a 2:55.119, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Daniel Kosick is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Constable Barry just clocked 210.568. Can they improve on this lap?
David is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now, several laps into the session, Jimmy Lindo looks to refine their line and timing. David Constable Barry has set a best lap time of 2:09.104 so far.
As the session progresses, David Constable Barry is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Wallstrom just clocked 742.064. Can they improve on this lap? Now, several laps into the session, Jimmy Lindo looks to refine their line and timing.
Jimmy is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Norton is testing the Formula RSS for 2024 under more aggressive conditions. David Constable Barry has set a best lap time of 2:09.104 so far. Wallstrom just clocked 5:08.039. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Sten Wallstrom is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Daniel's last lap was a 2:49.332, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Daniel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Thomas Kruger Dorado is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do. Dominic Fovarg is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Now, several laps into the session, Mac McFarcar looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Mac McFarcar is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Neil Constable-Berry is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do. Daniel Kosick has set a best lap time of 2:09.102 so far.
Daniel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Ben's last lap was a 2:21.595, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Ben Nadine is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
David just clocked 2:08.979. Can they improve on this lap?
David is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Dominic Fovarg has set a best lap time of 2:09.198 so far.
As the session progresses, Dominic Fovarg is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Now, several laps into the session, John Bountakius looks to refine their line and timing. Neil's last lap was a 2:10.517, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Neil is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Martijn has been competing at VVS for over 5 years now, which makes him one of the veterans on the grid.
Always nice to see him compete. He has really proven to be a great driver over the years.
Jimmy Lindo has set a best lap time of 2:09.490 so far. Dominic just clocked 2:09.198. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Dominic Fovarg is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Rich Snape is now on their first flying lap. Let's see what they can do. Jimmy's last lap was a 2:54.542, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Elliot Norton has set a best lap time of 2:11.321 so far. Now, several laps into the session, Thomas Kruger Dorado looks to refine their line and timing.
Thomas is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Nigel's last lap was a 2:09.993, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Nigel Walters is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
David Constable-Berry has set a best lap time of 2:08.979 so far.
David is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now, several laps into the session, Daniel Kosick looks to refine their line and timing.
As the session progresses, Daniel Kosick is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Mac's last lap was a 8:34.193, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Neil Constable Barry has set a best lap time of 2:10.517 so far. Kosick just clocked 349.273. Can they improve on this lap?
Daniel is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Now, several laps into the session, Rich Snape looks to refine their line and timing.
Competing at VVS for over 5 years now, make Martin one of the veterans.
David's last lap was a 2:09.506, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Martin has been competing at VVS for over 5 years now, which makes him one of the veterans on the grid.
Always nice to see him compete. He has really proven to be a great driver over the years.
Lindo just clocked 222.494. Can they improve on this lap? Mac McFarquhar has set a best lap time of 2:09.424 so far. Elliott's last lap was a 2:24.915, aiming to shave off some seconds here. Now, several laps into the session, Dominic Fogard looks to refine their line and timing. Joel Limerick has set a best lap time of 2:07.350 so far. Dominic Fovargue just clocked 337.047. Can they improve on this lap?
As the session progresses, Dominic Fovargue is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
The mid-table bandit is going well.
If he gets too far up the order, he'll get a nosebleed.
Sten's last lap was a 2:13.040, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
Sten is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Ben Nadine has set a best lap time of 2:10.447 so far.
As the session progresses, Ben Nadine is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Now, several laps into the session, Neil Constable Barry looks to refine their line and timing.
Neil is really starting to push now, analyzing every sector for potential improvements.
Snape just clocked 2:45.356. Can they improve on this lap? Sten Wallstrom has set a best lap time of 2:11.919 so far. Now, several laps into the session, Neil Constable Barry looks to refine their line and timing. Elliott just clocked 2:09.940. Can they improve on this lap? Daniel's last lap was a 2:10.112, aiming to shave off some seconds here.
As the session progresses, Daniel Kosick is dialing in, looking more confident with each lap.
Adam Tyus is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. Chris Stokes is on their practice out lap, warming up the tires. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Wallstrom's still sitting in the pits with 5 minutes left. He's leaving it a bit late to put a time on the board.
Dorado's cutting it fine now. If he's waiting for a clear track, he's running out of room to make a mistake.
Constable Barry finally peeling out of the pits. He's got just over 4 minutes to find a rhythm and bank a representative lap. Nadine finally firing it up, but the clock is ticking down fast.
He's missing the window where the track is at its quickest. That's going to be a tough ask to find grip now.
Constable Barry is on his flying lap now, but he has barely over a minute to get across that line before the flag drops. Stokes is finally out on track, but he's got under 70 seconds to get a lap banked.
He's basically on a hot lap or nothing now, no time to even warm the tires properly.
Mull is just rolling out of the pit lane. That is cutting it incredibly fine.
He won't have time to do a second attempt if he finds traffic or makes a single error. That's high-stakes stuff.
Constable Barry is up nearly 4/10 through the first sector. He's looking to climb out of 8th place before the session closes.
Fovarg is finding some serious pace here, 4.5 tenths up on his previous best. That's going to push him right into the top 5 if he hangs on to it.
Stokes is carving nearly 8/10 out of his best time. He's really pushing the limit to get out of the bottom half of the field.
He's finding grip where there shouldn't be any, but he needs to make sure he doesn't overdrive it in the final sector and throw that gain away.
Lemrick is just 100th off his own pace at the top, holding the provisional pole by the narrowest of margins. Norton is finally moving, but he's got under 90 seconds to find a flying lap.
He's going to be looking at a completely clear track, but that tire temperature is going to be his biggest enemy right now.
Cook just puts a 2 minutes, 8 seconds, and 8 milliseconds on the board. That slots him firmly into P4.
Solid banker lap, but with 2 minutes left, he's going to be looking to see if there's any more pace in those tires before the flag drops.
Pole sitter Joel Lemrich looking calm on the grid, ready to lead this field away in the RSS4.
He needs a clean launch. In these lower classes, one mistake on the cold tires, and the whole pack is swarming you by the first apex.
Dorado sits there in P3, and he has got the speed to snatch the lead before we even hit the first braking zone.
Kosick is right in the mix now, and starting from the second row, he just needs to stay out of trouble and keep that car pointing straight while everyone else fights for space.
Fovarg lines up 5th, and he's going to be looking for a gap in the chaos when the lights go out.
McFarquhar is our lone pro-class car in this pocket, so expect him to be aggressive off the line to clear those Pro-Am guys early.
Lindo is tucked into 7th, needing a massive jump to stay relevant with the leaders ahead.
Walters is going to have his work cut out for him starting 8th. He needs to play it smart and let the guys in front burn their tires early.
Constable Barry, rounding out the top 9, he's got a mountain to climb if he wants to catch that lead battle.
He just needs to avoid the turn 1 bottleneck. Mid-pack starts are always a lottery, and he's right in the middle of it.
Maul is way back in 10th, but don't count him out. He's in a pro-class machine, and he's going to be hunting for places on lap 1.
He's definitely going to take risks others won't, but he has to watch out for the guys in front, defending like their lives depend on it.
Neil Constable Barry brings up the rear, looking to keep his nose clean and capitalize on any opening lap shunts.
He's got a clear view of the field ahead. He should use that to pick his line through the inevitable carnage at the start.
Tyus is sitting back in 13th. He needs a rocket ship start to make any headway through this pack.
At this end of the grid, you're just hoping everyone stays tidy into the first corner so you don't get collected by someone else's mistake.
Stokes has a long road ahead, starting from 14th, but he's in a pro-class car and should be carving through this field.
He'll be fuming after qualifying, but he just needs to keep his head and not overdrive that front end in the dirty air of the slower cars.
Nadine completes the grid, and with the field spread out like this, he needs to find a rhythm immediately if he wants to stay in touch with the tail enders. Norton is starting from the back row, which is not where you want to be in a pro-class car.
He's going to be looking for gaps the moment the lights go out. He has to make up those places quickly before the front of the pack breaks the toe.
And they are off. A clean getaway for Lemrick at the front, but look at that scramble behind him.
Standard chaos into turn 1, it's all about who dares to hold the brake a fraction longer and who's smart enough to bail out.
Lemrick has executed that perfectly, holding the inside line and keeping the lead as they filter through the first complex.
He's already trying to break the toe, putting half a second on the field before they even reach the first sector.
Morton's already on the move, picking off one car to jump up to 15th in that frantic opening scramble.
Tyus has done a great job keeping his nose clean while others were bumping wheels. He's picked up a spot and is already looking to close the gap to the car ahead.
Tyus is keeping the momentum up, sitting nicely in 12th now.
Smart driving. He's avoiding the temptation to dive into gaps that aren't there, and it's paying off with a free position.
Look at Mole go. He's already carved his way up to 8th, slicing through the midfield like a hot knife.
He's using that pro class pace to his advantage, forcing the issue under braking where these pro-am guys are a little more hesitant.
Mole is on a tear, picking off another one to move into 7th. He has got Walters glued to his gearbox, just half a second back. Fauvargue is trying to hold firm in 5th, but McFarquhar is swarming all over him, just 2/10 off his rear wing.
This is high-stakes stuff. Fauvargue needs to defend the apex without killing his exit speed, because if he leaves the door open, McFarquhar will absolutely take it.
Total disaster for McFarquhar. He was right on Fauvargue's gearbox a moment ago, but he's dropped all the way back to 15th.
He must have tagged a curb or got caught in a spin through that last complex. That's a huge amount of time to lose in a single lap.
McFarquhar is trying to salvage something here, but he's got Nadine right on his tail, only a 10th behind him.
He is clearly rattled after that error. He's fighting for his life at 14th, and you can see him struggling to find his rhythm again.
Dorado is breathing down the neck of Kosick, just 2/10 separating them as they head into the technical section.
He's putting his car right in Kosick's mirrors, forcing him to take a defensive line and sacrificing his drive out of the corner.
Dorado has lost his momentum, he's slipped back to 5th, and now faces a 2.5-second deficit to Kosick.
He must have pushed too hard trying to force that move. One moment of oversteer is all it takes to lose the toe and have the field pull away from you.
Stokes is hunting down Tyus. That gap is down to just 2/10 as they weave through this middle sector.
He's much faster in the transitions. Watch his line through this upcoming apex. He's setting up the overtake right now.
Stokes has finally made it stick, moving up into 10th, but it's absolute bumper-to-bumper stuff with Tyus glued right to his diffuser.
Tyus isn't letting this go. He's sitting just 3/10 off Stokes, waiting for a single mistake to dive back down the inside.
Tyus has capitalized on the chaos. He is up to 10th now as Stokes continues his charge ahead tonight.
It is a game of musical chairs in this midfield. Tyus needs to focus on that gap to Stokes. Half a second is just enough to get a run on him if he plays his cards right.
Snape is looking sharp in 7th, putting Dorado under the microscope with just 3/10 between them.
He's keeping his car steady, not over pushing the entry. If he keeps this pressure up, Dorado will eventually run out of talent in that braking zone.
No change in the order for these two, but Snape is absolutely locked onto Dorado's rear bumper, looking for any way past. Fauvargue is right on the gearbox of Kosick, just a 10th of a second separating them.
This is the battle for the final podium spot, and you can see Fauvargue trying to compromise Kosick's line through these corners to force a mistake.
Dorado and Snape are side by side. It is absolutely wheel to wheel for that 6th position. Dorado has completely fallen off the map, slipping back to 10th and losing 10 seconds in the process. That looks like a major off-track excursion. It is going from bad to worse for Dorado. He's plummeted to 13th, and the gap to the front is just ballooning out. Bounticus is hunting down our leader. He's just 2/10ths behind Lemrich and looking like he has the pace to challenge for the win. Lemrich is holding firm, but Bounticus is refusing to let him breathe, keeping the pressure right at 3/10ths. Kosick is clawing his way back onto the tail of Fovar, just 3/10ths splitting them as they fight for that last spot on the podium. Fovarg has managed to stretch that gap out to 6/10ths, just giving himself a little bit of breathing room.
He's finding a better rhythm now, forcing Kosick to work much harder to close that distance back up.
Trouble for Kosick, he's dropped to 5th, and now the gap to Fovarg is nearing a full second.
He's lost the rhythm completely. You can see him struggling for traction out of these corners, likely nursing a bit of oversteer after pushing so hard earlier.
Snape is really putting the heat on Maul here, keeping that gap right at 5/10ths as they dive into the mid-sector.
It's all about how much load he's putting through those tires. He's got to stay close without overheating the fronts in that wash.
Snape is creeping closer, shaving 2/10ths off that gap to Maul. He is well and truly locked in now. Bounticus is not going anywhere. He's staying right in Limerich's slipstream, just 4/10ths back as they hunt for the lead. Lemrich is holding the line beautifully, nudging that gap out to half a second, but Bounticus remains a constant shadow in his mirrors. It's been a masterclass in defensive driving from Lemrich at the front, but my word, the carnage behind him has been something else today.
Tell me about it. I was just looking at the telemetry. The way these guys are chucking these cars into the heavy braking zones is terrifying.
You used to be one of them, Sky. Don't pretend you didn't love that feeling of being on the limit with someone inches from your diffuser.
Oh, I loved it. But there's a fine line between a brave move and a desperate one. And some of the mid-pack guys are flirting with that line every single lap.
That's the beauty of it, though, isn't it? The difference between a clean overtake and a race-ending crash is often just a couple of centimeters of track position.
Exactly, and you only learn that through experience. You have to know when to fight for the inch and when to back off to save your race.
Constable Barry is closing in on Dorado, just half a second between them as they fight to climb back up the order. Dorado has managed to defend that position, pushing the gap out to near a second as Constable Barry struggles to stay in his way. Kosick is right on the back of Maul. Now he's got to make this move count if he wants to recover that podium spot.
He needs to focus on his exit out of the previous corner. If he doesn't get the traction down, he'll just be a sitting duck on the straight.
Maul is successfully keeping him at bay, stretching that gap out to half a second now.
Kosick is starting to look a bit ragged in his inputs. He's pushing the braking zone too hard and losing the nose in the middle of the turn.
Norton has put in a massive recovery drive. He's up to 9th and hunting down Walters with 7/10ths of a second to play with.
He's finding grip where others are struggling. Watch his line through the next complex. He's carrying so much more speed through the mid-corner.
Walters is showing some real grit. He's actually managed to pull a bit of breathing room back, stretching the gap to 9/10ths over Norton. Kosick's right back on it, cutting the gap to Maul down to 3/10ths as we enter the closing stages of this race. Moll has found a little extra pace to keep Kosick at arm's length, pushing the gap out to 0.4.
Kosick is doing a great job of staying in that turbulent air, but he really needs to rethink his strategy if he's going to get past before the clock runs out.
Snape is really putting the pressure on, sitting just half a second behind Kosick and looking for a way through.
He's keeping his eyes up, waiting for Kosick to miss an apex, but that's a lot of work for a driver who's already been fighting with his own car for the last few laps.
Snape is chipping away at it, pulling a tenth out of that gap to Kosick. It's down to 0.4 now. Kosick is clearly feeling the heat, glancing in those mirrors every 2 seconds as Snape keeps the pressure right at 0.4. Kosick has managed to breathe a tiny sigh of relief, eking that gap out to half a second.
He's finally settled into a rhythm, but he can't get complacent. Snape is still well within striking distance if he gets a good run out of this turn.
Bountikis is absolutely glued to the back of the leader, only 0.4 between them as they push toward the 7-minute mark. He's halved the gap. Bountikis is right there at 0.2 now. He's got a real look at the lead.
This is it. He's baiting Lemrich into a mistake. You can see Bountikis testing different lines through the corners just to see where he has the edge.
Constable Barry is desperately holding on to 11th with Dorado breathing down his neck at just a tenth of a second. Constable Barry has managed to put a bit of breathing room between him and Dorado, extending that cushion to 0.3.
He's keeping it tidy. Dorado is trying to force the issue, but he's just scrubbing speed off his own tires by running that close in the corners.
The tension is building as Crashy Kruger trails behind Neil Constable Barry. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Neil Constable Barry hold on, or will Thomas Kruger Dorado be able to close them down?
This is where experience comes into play. Neil Constable Barry has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Thomas is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
Snape is really putting the hammer down now, keeping that gap to Kosick locked right at half a second as we move into the final 6 minutes. No change in the gap, but Snape is visibly pushing his car to the absolute limit to stay within touch of Kosick.
He's over-rotating on the entry to try and get the car turned, but that's going to hurt his drive out the corner if he's not careful with the throttle.
Dorado is making another push, sitting just 0.3 off Constable Barry as they scrap for 11th.
He's been flirting with the limits of that car all race, and he's going to need a perfect exit from the next complex if he's going to make a clean pass. Dorado
is relentless, chipping another 10th off the gap. He is breathing down Constable Barry's neck with only 0.2 in it now. A small mistake from Bountakis has allowed Lemrich to pull away just a touch. The gap is back out to over a second now. Bountakis is fighting back, clawing a tenth of a second back to keep the leader honest as we head into the final 4 minutes. Constable Barry has actually swapped positions with Dorado. He's now chasing him down with just 0.2 between them.
This is an absolute dogfight for 11th, and with only 4 minutes remaining, there's no room for any hesitation.
Dorado has completely fallen away. It looks like a major spin or mechanical issue has dropped him back 6 seconds.
That's his race effectively compromised. He had the pace to challenge, but he's just thrown it away at the most critical point of the session.
It's fascinating to watch these guys struggle with the tire degradation as we get deep into this final stint.
You can see it in the steering inputs, Hal. They're all fighting a bit of mid-corner understeer that just wasn't there 10 minutes ago.
And yet, Bontakis is still pushing like it's the first lap, refusing to let Lemmerch cruise to the finish.
That's the pro mindset, isn't it? You never stop hunting until the checkered flag actually drops.
I've seen drivers switch off in the final minutes and throw away a podium spot in the blink of an eye.
I've been that driver, believe me. You think you've got it managed, and then suddenly you're sliding sideways across the grass, wondering where it all went wrong.
Snape is really putting the squeeze on Kosick now, closing that gap down to 4/10 as they hunt down 5th place.
He's finding a much better line through the technical complex. He's clearly looking to force Kosick into a defensive mistake before the race is over.
Snape has absolutely closed the door on him. He is right on top of Kosick now, with just 1/10 separating them. David Constable-Berry is doing his best to reel in Neal, but he's got 0.8 of a second to bridge before he can really threaten that 11th spot. It's not looking good for David. Neal has managed to extend that gap slightly, pulling almost a full second clear now. We are hitting that final stretch now, and you can really see the nerves kicking in for these guys.
It's the point where you start questioning every single gear change. You're terrified of doing something silly this late in the game.
It's amazing how much the track changes too, with all that rubber laid down compared to the start of the race.
The grip levels are completely different, and the car's balance is probably nowhere near where it was during the setup sessions.
That's what separates the front runners from the rest of the field. The ability to adapt to a changing car in real time.
Spot on. The best drivers don't just drive to a pre-planned set of notes. They feel what the car needs and they give it to it, lap after lap.
Stokes is caught right up to the back of Snape, just 0.2 between them as they carve through the circuit.
He is showing much better composure now. He's not rushing the entry. He's just waiting for Snape to lose a fraction of pace on those worn tires.
Stokes has just let that gap drift out to 0.4. He needs to tighten that up before the final lap if he wants a shot at 6th. Norton is putting immense pressure on McFarcar here. Only 0.4 in it as they fight for the top 10. Norton has completely lost his rhythm, slipping back to 11th and falling nearly 18 seconds behind McFarquhar. He surely had a major moment out there. Norton is absolutely plummeting down the order, falling to 13th and staring at a 27-second deficit. Whatever happens, he's just trying to bring the car home in one piece now. Walters is glued to the back of Stokes, only 0.3 between them as they hunt for that 7th position.
He's finding a great rhythm. If he stays this close through the twisty sections, he might just force Stokes into a defensive error on the exit.
Walters has suddenly lost a huge chunk of time to Stokes, the gap ballooning out to nearly 6 seconds.
He must have had a massive slide or an off-track moment. He's gone from being glued to that gearbox to losing touch entirely in just one sector.
It is incredible to see how quickly a race can unravel for these drivers when they are pushing this hard.
That is the reality of sim racing at this level, Hal. 1 millisecond of lost concentration, and you are off the black stuff.
And once you lose that momentum, the mental game shifts entirely from attacking to damage limitation.
Exactly. The frustration takes over, and that is when you usually make the second or third mistake, which is always the hardest to recover from.
We have seen some brilliant resilience today, though, especially from the leaders who have kept their heads down despite the chaos.
They have stayed focused on the horizon, not their mirrors, and that is why they are still at the pointy end of this field.
Bontakis is not giving up. He's keeping the pressure on the leader, just half a second behind as we head into these final moments. Lemrick is holding firm, squeezing out another tenth, but Bontakis is still right there, hovering at 0.6 of a second. Constable Barry is pushing hard to catch Dorado, but he's got a gap of over a second to overcome.
He needs to start using more curb on the exits to find the speed he needs, otherwise that gap is just going to keep him at arm's length.
Something has gone horribly wrong for Constable Barry. He's dropped back massively. The gap is now nearly 15 seconds to Dorado.
He's definitely carrying some damage or had a spin. You don't lose that kind of time without something being fundamentally broken on the car.
Naden is chipping away at the gap, but he's still got nearly 5 seconds to hunt down before he can challenge Constable Barry for 11th. Snape is absolutely hunting down that 5th position, closing in to just 2/10 behind Kosick as we start this 10th lap. Snape has lost a bit of momentum there, letting Kosick breathe as the gap stretches out to 0.6. Bontakis is still pushing, but the gap to the leader has opened up to nearly a second now. He's keeping the gap stable, but he needs to find something special in these final laps to bridge that 9/10 deficit.
He's probably saving his ERS or tire life for a final lunge. There's no point in burning everything now if he can't make the pass stick yet.
20 seconds to go, and Lemrich is holding onto that lead by his fingernails with Bontakis still breathing down his neck. A masterful drive from start to finish. Lemrich takes the checkered flag and brings it home for the victory. Bontakis crosses the line a second and gave it absolutely everything, but he just couldn't find a way past the leader.
He should be proud of that. He put the pressure on for the entire race and kept the leader honest until the very last meter.
And Fovart rounds out the podium in 3rd, a brilliant recovery from his grid spot to bring home the hardware.
He played the long game perfectly, kept his head while others were spinning off around him, and he's earned every bit of that champagne.
Mull, Kosick, Snape, and Stokes crossed the line to complete the top 7, a frantic finish to a brilliant battle.
That group was inseparable for the entire second half of the race. Great to see them all keep it clean through that final sector.
Walters, Constable Barry, and Dorado round out the top 10, while Lindo crosses in 15th to wrap up his afternoon.
It was a proper scrap in that mid-pack. You could see the frustration on the faces of some of those guys as they crossed the line, but that's what makes this championship so addictive.
Neil Constable Barry brings it home in 11th, with Norton crossing the line to take 16th.
It was a character-building day for those two, but they stuck it out until the end. And that's the attitude you need to get back on the pace next time.
Nadine crosses the line to secure P12, a steady finish to what was a really intense outing for the whole field. Tyus rounds out his race with a solid P13 finish, showing great persistence to see the checkered flag after such a chaotic opening stint. Tyus has looked absolutely hooked up all weekend. He's earned that top spot on the grid.
Godin is starting right in his mirrors. And in these Formula 4 cars, that's all the slipstream he needs to challenge for the lead into the first complex.
Constable Barry lines up third, and you know he'll be looking for any gap those two ahead leave open when the lights go out. Kruger Dorado rounds out the second row. He's got the pace to keep the front three honest today.
He's in a Pro-Am car, so he needs to make sure he clears those Am drivers early if he wants to stay in contention for the overall win.
David Constable Barry slots into fifth. He's got his work cut out for him if he wants to catch his own brother up ahead.
Family rivalry on track is always fun, but he needs to focus on his own entry speed into turn 1, not just the car in front.
Walters is sitting in sixth and will need a clean start to stay in touch with the lead pack.
He needs to resist the urge to lunge into a gap that isn't there. P6 is a dangerous spot when the field concertinas into that first corner.
Snape is starting from eighth. He'll need to thread the needle through the chaos of the opening lap to make up some ground.
Kosick is hovering in ninth, and with that Pro-Am pace, he's going to be looking for a way to pick off those cars ahead before the tires drop off.
Mull has been somewhat buried in the pack today, but don't discount that pro-class pace once things settle down.
He's the one to watch. He'll be carving through the field like they're standing still if he gets a clean run through the opening sector.
Fovarg finds himself mid-pack in 11th. He's got a big job on his hands to break into the top 10 early on.
He needs to be smart with his fuel save early. Getting stuck in that midfield turbulence is the quickest way to overheat your frontrunners.
Bontekis rounds out the grid in 12th. He needs to keep his head down and stay out of the mid-pack scuffle if he wants to climb the order.
McFarquhar at the back of the pack is a surprise. With that pro pace, he's going to be hyper-aggressive from the get-go to salvage his race.
Lemrich brings up the rear. He'll be praying for a bit of turn 1 carnage to help him leapfrog a few of these cars off the start. Lindo is starting from 15th. He's got a mountain to climb, but plenty of time to work his way up. Norton is a serious talent to have, starting all the way back in 16th.
He knows how to manage those tires. He'll be playing the long game while everyone else burns their rubber in the opening laps.
Wallstrom is rounding out the grid. He just needs to keep the car clean and let the race come to him. And they are off. A clean getaway for Tyus at the front. But look at that scramble behind him.
Standard chaos into turn 1. You can see everyone trying to wedge 3 cars into a space designed for one.
Tyus has managed the launch perfectly. He's already opened up a few car lengths over the rest of the field.
He's dictating the pace early, not giving anyone behind a sniff of the slipstream.
Stokes is holding station in 7th, right in the thick of that midfield train.
He needs to be careful not to get dragged into a defensive scrap, or he'll lose the leaders entirely.
Tough start for Bantakis, dropping a spot in that opening lap shuffle.
It's easy to get boxed in when the field is this tight. He needs to find some clear air and settle into a rhythm now.
He's lost a little ground, just needs to keep his composure and not force an error.
Exactly. The worst thing you can do is panic and start overdriving the car on a cold track.
Stokes is glued to the gearbox of the car ahead, searching for any sign of a mistake in that 7th place battle. Wait, Nigel Walters has actually surged forward into 5th. That is a huge gain for him already.
Stokes is within a couple of tenths of that pack. Now he needs to make his move before Walters clears off and starts building a gap.
Kosick is right in the gearbox of McFarquhar. He is absolutely hungry for that 10th position.
He's got a massive speed advantage, but sticking that close in the corners is going to cook his front tires before we're even 5 minutes in.
Huge turnaround for Kosick, who has muscled his way past McFarquhar, and whatever happened to the lead pro car, he's dropped 7 seconds off the back of his pack. Snape is breathing down the neck of David Constable-Berry, just 2 tenths separating them as they head through this complex.
He's keeping it tidy, but he needs to decide where he wants to pull the trigger. That's a prime spot for a drag race to the next braking zone.
No change in the gap. Snape is still glued to the rear diffuser of Constable-Berry.
He is clearly waiting for an opening, but the longer he sits in that dirty air, the more he's going to lose grip on the front end.
Lemrick has clawed his way up to 7th, and now he is putting real pressure on Walters.
He is just 2 tenths back, and he is showing great patience. He knows exactly where he's faster and is just biding his time.
Walters has managed to stretch that gap out slightly. It's now up to 4 tenths.
Lemrick just lost a bit of momentum through that last sector, and at this
Yellow
level,
flag,
that's
safety
all
cars
the
out.
breathing room your rival needs.
The yellow flags are out everywhere, and there's a safety car coming onto the track.
Big trouble back there. That is a massive interruption, and it's going to bunch the entire field right back up.
It really wipes out all the hard work the leaders did to build their gaps.
It's a complete reset. Everyone needs to cool their brakes, focus on keeping those tires warm, and prepare for the restart.
It has been a frantic start to this one, hasn't it? Even before that incident brought the safety car out, the scrap in the midfield was intense.
It was inevitable, really. You have such a mix of AM and pro drivers on a track that doesn't offer many clean lines for overtaking.
That's what I love about this championship, though. You've got people like Tyus showing total composure up front, while others are basically having a wrestling match in the middle.
I remember those mid-pack battles. It's mentally draining. You're constantly calculating risk versus reward, hoping the guy behind you has the same level of respect for the racing line.
And then you get a safety car, which just flips the script entirely and ruins a perfectly good gap.
It's a fresh start for everyone now, Hal. Those who are struggling with Tyree Temp will be grateful for the cooldown, but the leaders are probably furious.
The lights are out on the safety car. We are going back to racing shortly.
This is the moment for the field to bunch up and see who has the best exit out of the final turn.
It is amazing how a single yellow flag can completely scramble a driver's strategy mid-race.
Oh, it's a total reset of the psychological game, Hal. Everyone was in a rhythm, and now they're all forced back into a standing start style scenario.
I've always wondered if the leaders actually hate these moments more than the guys at the back who just got a free pass.
Without a doubt, because you spend 15 minutes perfecting your tire temps and gap management, only for the field to be parked on your gearbox.
And then you have to hope your brakes are still in the operating window when the green flag finally drops.
Exactly, and if you let your core temp drop during this crawl, you're essentially a sitting duck for the first 3 corners of the restart.
It really puts the spotlight on how quickly these guys can adapt their line to defend when the intensity spikes.
That's the difference between a podium finish and a DNF, especially here where the surface is so unforgiving.
You can see them weaving back there, trying to scrub the surface of the tires just to find a tiny bit more grip.
It's all about maintaining that heat. If you let the pressure drop, you might as well hand the position over at the restart.
It really brings home why we love this series. The unpredictability is just constant.
It is, but let's see who actually has the nerves to hold it together when the safety car peels into the pits.
The safety car is back out, and that is going to neutralize the field once again.
This is becoming a stop-start affair. It's a nightmare for the drivers trying to keep their engine temperatures under control.
That incident looks like a significant one in the midfield. Let's hope everyone involved is all right.
These cars are pretty sturdy, but that kind of impact really shakes you up, especially when you're mid-battle.
It is becoming a real war of attrition out there, which is a bit of a departure from the clean running we usually see in VVS.
Safety car in
Sometimes
this
when the
lap.
grid is this tight, one small miscalculation cascades through the whole pack. It is just the nature of the beast in these cars.
I am still keeping an eye on Tyus at the front. He has handled these constant interruptions with ice in his veins.
It is classic veteran composure, Hal. Most drivers start to get frustrated and force the issue, but he is just treating every restart like a brand new race.
It is a stark contrast to the midfield, where it looks like absolute pandemonium every time the lights turn green.
That is the divide between the calm and the chaotic, and unfortunately for some, that lack of discipline is exactly
Get
what
ready,
keeps them
safety
stuck.
car's clear.
Safety car is heading for the pits. Get ready, because we're
Green,
about to
green,
go
green, let's
again.
go.
Tyus needs to hold his nerve here and dictate the pace perfectly before he puts his foot down.
Snape is really under the pump now. Kosic is right on his rear wing as we get back to green flag conditions.
He's got no room for error. He needs to defend the inside line, or he'll be swallowed up by that Pro-Am pace immediately.
Lemrick has found a second win and is absolutely crawling all over the rear of Constable Barron.
He is showing brilliant race back here, just testing the waters to see where the defending car is weak before he commits to a move.
Lemrick makes it look easy. He has dived down the inside and muscled his way past Constable Barry to claim 6th. Bone Takas is hunting down McFarquhar with only 2 tenths in it. This is a real dogfight at the back of the pack. Still nothing to choose between them. Bountikis is trying everything to unsettle McFarquhar, but he just cannot find a way through.
He is being far too tentative. He needs to force the issue, or McFarquhar is going to start pulling away.
It is incredible to see how these drivers have adapted their lines to keep the heat in their tires after a long safety car period.
It is a fine art, Hal. You see some of them scrubbing the tires, and others just focusing on getting their brake bias adjusted for the cold discs.
I have always felt that the VVS field is at its most dangerous right at the restart, where you have cold rubber and aggressive mindsets.
You are not wrong, because that is when you get the overeager lunge from someone who hasn't quite calculated the grip deficit yet.
And yet we keep seeing these clean side-by-side battles in the technical sections, which really speaks to the high level of talent in this championship.
It really does, and it's a testament to the fact that these drivers are learning to trust each other wheel to wheel, even when the pressure is at its absolute.
That mutual respect is vital, especially when you are running just a few tenths apart through high-speed transitions.
Absolutely, because one twitch of the steering wheel at the wrong moment ruins the race for both drivers involved.
I think back to that move Lemrick pulled on Constable Barry. That was clinical, absolutely textbook stuff.
He knew exactly where he had the edge, waited for the perfect exit, and didn't leave a single millimeter of doubt on the table.
It really sets the tone for these final 10 minutes, and I suspect we haven't seen the last of the overtakes today.
Not a chance. With these gaps tightening up, the final sprint is going to be pure chaos, and I can't wait to see who cracks first.
Stop the presses! Tyus has been knocked off the top spot, and he is breathing right down the neck of Kruger Dorado.
He is only 3 tenths back, but he's already checking his mirrors. That Pro-Am car is wide and defensive, which is going to play right into Tyus' hands if he can force a mistake.
Kruger Dorado has managed to stretch that cushion out to half a second, putting a little bit of breathing room between himself and the leader of the chase.
Tyus has lost a bit of rhythm there, and in this class, half a second is an eternity when you're trying to break the slipstream.
Moll is pushing hard in 13th, but he's got nearly 2 seconds to make up if he wants to bridge the gap to McFarquhar. Mall is actually slipping further back. That gap to McFarquhar is blown out to over 2 seconds now.
He's definitely struggling with the balance. You can see the car washing out in the mid-corner, and that's just killing his exit speed.
McFarquhar is right on the back of Constable Barry, just a tenth of a second separating them as they hunt down the top 10. McFarquhar has finally made the move stick. He's up into 11th and already beginning to gap Constable Barry.
That was clinical. He waited for that tiny window of opportunity and didn't hesitate when the door opened.
Tyus has been pushed back to 3rd. He is swarming all over the gearbox of Stokes now.
He is losing his head a bit. He needs to settle down. Chasing like that is the fastest way to cook his front tires with only 7 minutes on the clock.
Tyus has fought back brilliantly. He has found a way past Stokes and has pulled right alongside him as they battle for second. Kosick is absolutely flying in 9th. He has closed right up to the back of David Constable Barry.
He is showing no respect for that gap. He is clearly hunting a top 8 finish, and he wants it right now.
Kosick has managed to pick off David Constable Barry, but he's already lost a bit of ground to the next car in the line. Snape is right in the slipstream of Kosick, and he's looking to reclaim that lost ground immediately.
He knows Kosic is vulnerable after that last overtake. If he can force him to defend, he can compromise his exit into the next complex.
Snape has capitalized on a slight mistake from Kosick and taken over 8th place.
He timed that perfectly, just waited for the hesitation, and pounced the moment the door was left ajar.
Norton has joined the party. He is right on the tail of Snape as we move into the final 5 minutes.
He has been the quiet assassin today, picking his moments perfectly while everyone else has been busy banging wheels.
No movement in the order, but the pressure is building with every single corner.
Norton is probing, looking for a twitch from Snape. But Snape is driving a very defensive line that's making it impossible to find a way through.
Constable Barry is hunting down Maul, just 3/10ths back and looking for a way to break back into the top 11. Constable Barry is literally nose to tail with Maul now. He's got to make this move happen before the clock runs out. Butakis has found a massive burst of pace. He's absolutely glued to the back of Maul.
He is just a tenth back, and you can see he is trying to trick Maul into a defensive error by feinting to the outside.
That is a massive setback for Butakis. He has lost over a second to Maul in the span of 1 sector.
He clearly overcooked it, trying to find a gap that wasn't there, and now he is paying the price with a huge gap to close down in these final minutes.
Lemrick is putting the hammer down. He's latched onto the back of Tyus, and he is not letting go of that second place battle. Kosick is absolutely hunting down Nadine, just a 10th between them as they push toward the closing stages. What a piece of driving from Kosick. He's wrestled 6th place away from Nadine, and the pair are still side by side. We are entering the business end of this race, and the intensity is clearly starting to boil over.
You can see it in the way they are attacking the curbs. They know every millimeter counts now.
It is funny how a race can start with such precision and end with everyone just throwing the car at the apex.
That is just pure adrenaline taking over. When you have 3 minutes left, you stop thinking about tire dag and start thinking about the podium.
I am still watching Kosick He has been on a tear since that restart.
He is driving like he has nothing to lose, which is exactly the mindset you need when you are fighting for a top 6 spot this late in the game.
Norton is absolutely flying. He is right on McFarquhar's gearbox and ready to pounce for ninth. Norton is still locked onto the back of McFarquhar, but somehow McFarquhar has managed to claw his way up to 8th.
He is showing some real grit, holding position despite that constant pressure from Norton in his wing mirrors.
Norton has finally found a way past, moving up to 9th and immediately putting the pressure on McFarquhar again.
He made that look effortless, but keeping that pace up for another lap is where the real challenge lies.
Norton is still glued to the gearbox of McFarquhar, just 3/10, keeping them apart.
He's keeping his nose clean, waiting for McFarquhar to make a mistake in the closing minutes, which is exactly the right tactic here.
No change in the gap, but the tension is palpable as they navigate the closing moments of the stint. Snape has climbed all the way to 6th and is now putting serious heat on Walters.
2/10 between them. Snape is working the car hard, trying to manufacture an overtake before the field crosses the line.
Snape has absolutely sent it. He snatched 5th place and is still fighting to break the toe from Walters.
That was a masterclass in late braking. He caught Walters completely off guard on that entry.
McFarquhar is fighting back hard. He's within 2/10 of Norton now as they scrap for 8th.
He is not going to lie down. He's looking at Norton's line through every corner, searching for a dip in the rear grip.
McFarquhar has regained the upper hand. He is back up to 8th and holding off Norton by just 2/10.
He clearly found a bit more exit speed on that last tour. Norton's going to need a miracle to get back around him now.
It is absolute chaos out there. I honestly don't know how they are keeping these cars on the track with this level of intensity.
It is the desperation, Hal. Everyone knows the clock is ticking down, and you'd rather bin it trying for a position than settle for a quiet finish.
That move from McFarquhar to get back into 8th was the perfect example of that grit we were talking about earlier.
He didn't just force it. He waited for Norton to look slightly unsettled on the brakes and struck immediately. That is high-level stuff.
We have seen the order flip-flop so many times in the last few laps, it's making my head spin trying to keep track of the midfield.
It's a classic VVS scenario. The cars are so evenly matched that it all comes down to who can hold their nerve the longest.
And then you have guys like Snape, who just seem to have an extra gear when the pressure hits its peak.
Snape has been impressive. He's managed his car perfectly, while others are clearly struggling with the balance after that safety car.
We have only got a few minutes left, and the way they are driving, I wouldn't bet on anyone holding their current position until the flag.
I'd put money on at least 2 more overtakes in the top 10 before the checkered flag flies. They are just too aggressive right now.
It's been a proper spectacle for everyone watching today, the kind of race we'll be talking about for a long time.
It has been a roller coaster, but let's see if anyone has one final heroic move left in them as we approach the closing stages.
McFarquhar is fighting to stay in the top 10, but Maul is absolutely swarming all over his rear diffuser.
Just a 1/10 of a second in it, McFarquhar needs to be rock solid on his braking points here, or Maul is going to dive down the inside.
Maul has managed to squeeze past, snatching 10th place in a really tight maneuver.
McFarquhar is stuck right in his wake now, and with only seconds on the clock, he's running out of road to fight back.
McFarquhar is right back in the mix. He's somehow fought his way back up to 10th, and he's within a 10th of Mole again.
These two are trading paint. It is relentless stuff. If they keep this up, they might both lose out to the cars behind.
Kruger Dorado is keeping the pressure on the leader, but he needs to bridge that 6/10 gap if he wants to steal the win in these dying stages. The gap is holding steady at 6/10. Kruger Dorado is just not making any inroads on Lemrich.
He is driving the wheels off that car, but Lemrich is just too composed. He is hitting every apex perfectly and denying him any room to breathe.
Bontakis is clinging onto 10th by his fingernails with McFarkas right in his mirrors. Bontakis has managed to open up a tiny bit of daylight, stretching the gap to 0.2 over McFarkas. It is almost time for the checkered flag, and I have to say, the standard of racing through this field has been nothing short of exceptional.
It really has. Even with all the safety car interruptions, the drivers have managed to keep their heads and deliver some fantastic wheel-to-wheel battles.
I'm still keeping an eye on that lead battle. Kruger Dorado has pushed Lemrick all the way to the wire.
That is the beauty of this car. It rewards the
Yellow
brave,
flag, safety cars out.
punishes the impatient, and Lemrick has shown real maturity to keep that lead.
Now what about Bontakis in the midfield? He has been under siege for laps and somehow managed to keep that car ahead of the pack.
That takes immense concentration, especially when you can hear the engine of the car behind you in every single braking zone.
I think we have seen a little bit of everything today. Strategic masterclasses, desperate lunges, and some real defensive grit.
It is the perfect advertisement for VVS, and it just proves that you don't need a huge track to have a massive race.
I just hope the stewards aren't going to be too busy after this one. It's been very close to the limit at times.
If they were all clean, I'll be impressed, because they were certainly leaving no margin for error out there.
Right, eyes on the final lap. Let's see if anyone has one last trick up their sleeve.
The tension is rising. Buckle up, because the sprint to the line is going to be nail-biting stuff.
Unbelievable. The safety car is back out just as we were heading into the final moments.
That is a massive blow for Lemrich, who had that race in the bag, and now the field is going to be parked right on his bumper.
It really turns this into a one-lap sprint to the finish once the safety car peels away.
Heartbreak for some, a golden opportunity for others. Let's see who can hold their nerves for this final dash.
I'm absolutely speechless. That late race neutralization has completely blown the top three wide open.
It is cruel, isn't it? Lemrich has controlled the pace for the entire stint, only to have his hard-earned gap erased in an instant.
That is the nature of the beast in VVS. You have to be ready for the race to change in the blink of an eye.
Exactly, and you can bet Kruger Dorado is licking his lips right now, knowing he has one final shot to grab the win.
It really forces the drivers to shift from a long-distance rhythm back into full-blown qualifying mode for that final lap.
And the guys in the midfield who have managed to survive this carnage are probably going to try some very optimistic moves when the green flies.
The safety car is out yet again, and the drivers are going to be absolutely furious with another disruption this late in the game.
It's a tactical nightmare. You've got to keep the engine temps high, but you cannot afford to burn out your brakes before that final restart.
I have been covering racing for years, and I honestly cannot recall a finish quite this disrupted.
It is a test of patience, Hal, and honestly, the drivers who manage their stress levels right now are the ones who will stand on the podium.
Do you think the constant stopping and starting changes how they approach that final corner entry?
Absolutely, because the track surface changes every time they go back to speed, and the mental fatigue is setting in hard.
It really brings out the difference between the guys who are driving on instinct and those who are still trying to calculate every move.
And the ones driving on pure instinct are usually the most dangerous ones to be around when the field goes green.
We have seen so many lead changes and so much drama. It's going to be a shame when this finally ends.
It has been a wild ride, but these are the moments that define a championship season, seeing who can keep a clear head.
I am still watching the gap between Lemrick and Kruger Dorado. That is the headline of the day.
If Lemrich gets caught napping for even a millisecond on the restart, Kruger Dorado is going to be all over him.
It is all coming down to this final dash, a proper high-stakes finish to a chaotic day at the office.
I am glued to my screen. Let's hope we get a clean, fair scrap for that top spot when the safety car leaves the track.
Another yellow. The safety car is back, and you can hear the collective groan from the garage area.
This is becoming a war of nerves now. If you're Lemrich, you're absolutely dreading this restart.
It's effectively turned the final few minutes into a street fight. Nobody has any gap left to play with.
It's pure chaos. The tires will be stone cold, the pressure will be sky high, and one slip from the leader hands the win to someone else.
don't think I've ever seen a race where the strategy has been tossed out the window quite like this one.
It's basically a sprint race that has broken out into a long-distance event. It's completely flipped the script for the entire grid.
And poor Lemrick. He has led the majority of this, and now he's got a target on his back because of these back-to-back cautions.
That's the pressure of being the lead car, Hal. You have to set the pace for the restart, while being hunted by people with nothing to lose.
It really puts the focus on the mental game. Can you stay calm when the field is right on your gearbox?
Only the elite can do it, and we are about to find out who has the steel to take this win home.
Unbelievable. The safety car is out again. This is an absolute marathon of cautions.
My heart goes out to these drivers. Keeping your rhythm when you're spending half the race behind a pace car is nearly impossible.
It's turning into a complete lottery for that final lap sprint.
It is, and that restart is going to be high-stakes theater for everyone watching at home.
I have to say, the resilience of these drivers is something else. To keep your focus after 4 or 5 safety car resets is genuinely impressive.
It's exhausting, Hal. When you're in the cockpit, you're constantly fighting that urge to just relax, and the moment you do, you lose that razor-sharp reaction time.
And then there's the frustration of losing your gap. You work 10 laps to build a 2-second lead, and it's gone in a blink.
Oh, it's maddening. You start questioning your own pace, wondering if you pushed too hard early on or if you should have saved more for the end.
It really brings the field closer together, which makes for great TV, but I imagine it's a living nightmare for the guys at the front.
It is. You go from managing a gap to being in a dogfight. And that psychological shift happens in a split second at every restart.
We have seen the midfield turn into a blender. Drivers switching spots, off-track excursions. It's been total madness.
That's what happens when you bottle up that much aggression for so long. The moment the lights turn green, it all comes.
Martin Moll is still sat in the garage with under 8 minutes on the clock. He needs to get that Porsche out and find some rhythm before the session ends. Still, no time from Chris Stokes with just over 7 minutes to go. He is leaving it remarkably late to get a representative lap in.
You do not want to be chasing the track conditions this close to the end. He is going to have to push the tires straight out of the pits. Moll is still just staring at the timing screen in the pits. He must have a major setup issue to be burning this much time.
Stokes finally flickers into life in the pits, but with 6 minutes left, he has zero margin for error.
He'll have to skip the usual warm-up procedure and go straight for the throat, which is exactly how you end up in the wall on cold rubber.
Maul is rolling down the pit lane now. He has less than 6 minutes to make this count. Nigel Walters is the latest name still missing from the timing board as we tick past the 5-minute mark.
At this stage, he's basically throwing away his qualifying setup data. He'll be lucky to get a clean run in before the flag drops.
Maul finally delivers, and straight to the top of the pile with a 2 minutes, 7 seconds, and 6 milliseconds. Daniel Coaches is the only one remaining without a time on the board, sitting stationary in his box with 4 minutes left.
He's cutting it so fine, he might not even get a single representative lap before the session is over.
Joel Lemrich is still waiting in the garage, and with under 4 minutes to go, he's running out of road to get a feel for the circuit. Kosis is finally firing up the engine, but he has less than 3 minutes to get his car up to temperature and post a lap.
He is going to have to treat his outlap like a qualifying run, just to get a chance at a flying lap before the timer hits 0.
Walters is still lingering in the pits, which is a massive gamble considering we're inside the final 2.5 minutes. Lemrich is finally heading out, but he has less than 2 minutes to get a time on the board.
He is going to be fighting traffic. With everyone else trying to get one last flyer in, he will be lucky to get a clear sector.
Kokeking is out on track, but he is going to have to hustle if he wants to beat the clock.
He is just passing the pit exit now. He has exactly one shot at this before the checkered flag ruins his day.
Bounticus is still in the garage as the clock ticks under a minute. It looks like his practice session is effectively over before it really began. Tyus is still sitting in the box with 19 seconds left. There is simply no way he gets out and across the line in time now. Norton is still waiting, and with only 12 seconds on the clock, he's officially run out of time.
He'll be heading into qualifying completely blind, which is going to make the first few laps absolutely frantic for him.
Tyus is finally moving, but with less than a minute left, the session will be over before he even completes his outlap. Constable Barry sits in fourth with a 2 minutes, 9 seconds, and 2 milliseconds. A solid banker lap as we approach the final minute.
He's found a decent rhythm, but he's leaving himself no time to improve if he finds a little more grip in the track as it rubbers in.
Eight minutes remaining, and still no sign of a flying lap from Adam Tyus.
He's probably sitting in the garage watching the telemetry, waiting for the track to rubber in before he commits to a run.
Walters is cutting it fine with less than 8 minutes to go.
He better get out there soon. You don't want to be scrubbing in cold rubber when the clock hits 0.
Norton is still lingering in the pits while the rest of the field is already putting in work.
Every second he stays in the garage is a missed chance to dial in his brake bias for the long run.
Tyus is still showing as a ghost in the timing tower, just under 7 minutes left now. Stokes still hasn't ventured out, and the window for a meaningful setup tweak is closing fast.
Maybe he's playing mind games, but at this point, he's just giving away valuable data to the rest of the grid.
Tyus is finally firing up the engine. Looks like he's heading out at last.
Better late than never, but he's got 6 minutes to get a feel for the track balance before the session ends.
Five minutes left on the clock and still no sign of a flying lap from Adam Tyus.
He's burning daylight. But sometimes you just have to wait for the track to rubber in before you trust the grip.
Stokes still hasn't left the pits with less than 5 minutes to go. He's really leaving this until the absolute last moment. Nadine is still sitting in the box while the others are already clocking sectors.
He better get a move on. He's losing track temp by the second just watching the monitor.
Mack has left himself a mountain to climb, with barely 80 seconds remaining on the clock.
He is going to have to sprint straight out of the pits, no time for a gentle outlap warm-up here.
Norton is finally rolling out of the garage, but with barely over a minute left, that's going to be a desperate dash to get across the line for a final attempt. Norton finally crosses the line, but it's not showing a valid time on the board.
Looks like he might have dipped a wheel off the black stuff. That lap's been scrubbed.
Kruger Dorado is still stationary in the pits as the clock ticks down under 45 seconds.
He is officially out of time to get a representative banker lap in before the flag drops.
Kruger Dorado sneaks onto the third row with a 2:08.5 just as the session enters its final seconds. McFarquhar is still sat in the garage, and with under a minute to go, he has officially missed his window to qualify. Tyus is finding nearly half a second of pace. In this second sector, he's looking to climb higher than 7th before the session ends. McFarquhar is finding a bit more time on this flyer. He's hunting for a front row start with just over a minute on the clock. Bounty is threading the needle, finding a 1/10 of a second in the middle sector.
He's keeping it tidy, but that extra 1/10 is only going to move him up if the guys ahead stumble.
Joel Lemrich lines up at the sharp end of the field, looking rock solid as we wait for the lights. Martin Moll is right there in second, ready to put that Pro Class experience to work the second we go green.
He knows if he can get a better launch than Lemrich, he'll have the initiative before they even hit the first heavy braking zone.
And rounding out the top 3, we've got Adam Tyus ready to pounce if those front 2 get into a scrap.
Tyus has been quiet this weekend, but starting P3 in these small open wheelers is perfect. He's got a great view of the battle ahead.
Mac McFarquhar completes the second row, and you know he's already planning how to slice through that AM class traffic in front of him.
He needs to be aggressive off the line. If he lets those top 3 dictate the pace, he's going to find himself fighting the dirty air all afternoon.
Dominic Fovard sits 6th on the grid, looking to bridge that gap to the leaders early on.
He's in a tricky spot, sandwiched between the Pro-Am runners. He's got to manage his aggression if he wants to stay in the hunt.
Constable Barry lines up 7th, desperate to keep the nose clean and gain a few spots through the opening sequence. Thomas Kruger Dorado lines up 8th with a lot of heavy lifting to do to catch the lead pack.
He needs to get his elbows out at the start. P8 is where these cars tend to get bunched up in the first few corners.
Chris Stokes rounds out the top 9, and for a pro driver, he is going to be itching to make up ground immediately.
He's definitely starting further back than he'd like, but he's got the pace to slice through if he doesn't get hung out to dry on the opening lap.
Rich Snape starts from 11th, looking to keep his head down and survive the opening lap scramble.
Mid-pack is a nightmare in these cars. He needs to pick his lane and stay out of the inevitable contact ahead of him.
Neil Constable Barry is lining up right alongside Snape on that 6th row.
He needs to focus on his own mirrors there. Starting in the double digits is all about surviving the first 2 corners without losing a wing.
Ben Nadine finds himself in 13th, right in the thick of the midfield action.
He needs to be sharp on the brakes here, because he is going to have a dozen cars all trying to occupy the same piece of tarmac at turn 1.
Nigel Walters bringing up the rear in 14th. He'll be hoping for some chaos ahead to help him climb the order. Elliot Norton starts from the back, but don't let that fool you. He's a pro driver who can make life very difficult for those ahead. And we are green at VVS.
Great launch from Lemrich, but look at Mole trying to hang it around the outside already.
Lemrich has successfully defended that line and leads the field into the 2nd sector.
He's got a clean track ahead now, which is exactly what he needs to build a cushion before the DRS window opens.
He is absolutely nailing his marks so far, not giving Maul a sniff of the gearbox.
You can see him hugging the inside line to protect the apex. He is clearly not interested in taking any chances this early on.
Tyus has dropped back to 5th. He's lost a couple of spots in the opening scramble.
He got pinched on the exit there and just lost his momentum. Now he's got to fight his way back through the dirty air.
Norton has already managed to pick off a car. He's up 1 spot to 14th.
He's keeping his nose clean, which is priority number 1 for him if he wants to use that pro pace to climb through this field.
Maul is glued to the rear wing of the leader, showing Limerick that he is not going anywhere just yet.
He is applying all the pressure he can, hoping to force a mistake out of the leader before they reach the back straight.
That gap between the top 2 has stretched out to 0.6 now. Martin Maul is just struggling to stay in that wake.
He's finding that dirty air difficult to manage. He needs to find a different line through the twisty sections if he wants to close that back out.
Norton is absolutely breathing down the neck of Snape now, less than 0.2 as they hunt for position.
Fovarg is right in the mix for the final podium spot, keeping the pressure on Bountakis with just 0.2 separating them.
The gap has just ticked out to 0.3 now, so Fovarg couldn't quite keep the pressure on through that last sequence.
He is still well within striking distance, but he is going to have to decide if he wants to play the long game or dive for the gap now.
Kruger Dorado is locked in a scrap with Kelsey, just 0.2 covering the pair.
He needs to be careful not to kill his front tires trying to force a move this early in the race.
Kruger Dorado has lost a fraction of that momentum, and the gap has crept out to 3/10 as Kosick begins to stretch those legs. Bountikis is absolutely glued to the back of Maul, just 2/10 separating them as they fly into this complex.
He's trying to force a mistake,
Yellow flag,
but you
safety
can see
car's
Maul
out.
is just holding his nerve and keeping that car perfectly positioned.
And we have a safety car. The marshals are out on track after a heavy impact. That's going to bunch everyone back up.
That's a massive blow to Lemrich, who had just started to build a nice cushion. The field is going to be right back on his tail once we go green again.
It is a shame to see the field bunched up after such a strong start. This is exactly what makes sim racing so unpredictable.
I have been there, pal. You worked so hard to build that 2-second lead, then suddenly you are staring at a flashing light on the back of a pace car.
Exactly. It completely resets the mental game for someone like Lemrich, who has been managing his tires so well.
He has to keep the heat in them now, which is harder than it looks when you are forced to crawl around at these speeds.
And what about the mid-pack? We have seen some aggressive driving from the likes of Norton already.
Norton is playing it smart, though. He is carving his way through without picking up any incident points, which is rare for a restart specialist.
I am curious to see if the pro drivers start taking more risks once we go back to green, given how much time they have lost.
They will. You cannot afford to play it safe when the clock is ticking down and the rest of the pack is hungry for a podium.
The pressure is going to be immense heading into turn one, especially with how tight the gaps were before that incident.
If I were in the cockpit right now, I would be focusing on my entry speed, because everyone is going to be dive bombing from 3 car lengths back.
It is going to be pure chaos, and I honestly cannot wait to see how they handle that standing restart.
Just keep your eyes on the front row. That is where the real fireworks are going to happen.
The safety car is staying out for another lap while the crew clears that debris off the racing line.
These drivers are going to be struggling with tire temperatures now, and that's usually when you see someone slide off into the grass on the restart.
It is an interesting spot for the field to be in, sitting behind the pace car with tire temps plummeting.
It is miserable, honestly. You are weaving like crazy just to keep the rubber warm, and your heart rate is still sky high from the start.
And you have to wonder if anyone is going to try a cheeky undercut or a different strategy once we are back under green flag conditions.
With only about 16 minutes left, I think strategy goes out the window. It is just going to be a pure sprint to the finish now.
We have seen some fantastic wheel-to-wheel battles already, especially with Fovark and Bantakis.
They were going at it, but that is the beauty of the RSS4. The draft is so potent, it keeps the whole train together.
I am surprised we haven't seen more contact given how tight the field has been running since the drop of the flag.
Give it time, Hal. Once they see the green lights again, desperation is going to take over. And I expect we will see a lot of paint swapped.
It's a fine line between a clean overtake and a steward's investigation in this championship.
And the stewards here are not shy about handing out penalties, so these guys have a lot to lose if they get too aggressive.
Let's hope they keep it on the tarmac so we can
Safety
get
car
the
in
proper
this
fight
lap.
for the lead to the flag.
Agreed. Nobody wants to see this race decided in the steward's office. Let's get back to the track action.
The safety car lights are off, the leader is in control, and we are moments away from a restart.
Lemrich needs to wait until the very last second to floor it, or he'll just be handing the lead to Mull on a silver platter.
Fovarg is trying to break that toe, but Tyus is hanging on just 4/10 behind him as we get back up to speed.
Kruger Dorado is right on the gearbox of Kosick. That 4/10 gap means he's perfectly placed to launch an attack down the straight.
Get ready, safety car's clear.
He's tight with the screws, closing that gap down to 3/10 now as he looks for a way past into that next corner.
Stokes has got
green,
the
green,
clock
let's
breathing
go.
down his neck. He's got to defend that inside line, or he'll lose 8 by the time they hit the braking zone.
McFarcar is really putting the pressure on. That gap has shrunk to just 2/10 now.
Stokes is going to have to be inch perfect through this section, or he's going to get swamped on the exit.
McFarquhar has found a way through. Stokes has been shuffled back to ninth as that battle finally boiled over. Tyus is right back on the bumper of Fovarg, just 2/10 in it as they hunt for that podium spot.
He's clearly found some pace since the restart. He just needs to be clinical with his move rather than rushing it.
No change in the interval. These two are absolutely locked together through the technical section.
Fovarg is doing just enough to keep the door shut, but Tyus is testing his mirrors every single corner.
Bontekis is hunting down the pro runner in second, 4/10 the difference now.
He is keeping the car stable through the mid-corner, trying to maximize his exit speed to set up a run on that back straight.
He's nibbled a 10th off that lead, closing into 3/10 as we approach the final third of the race.
You can see the desperation creeping in. He's starting to trail brake deeper into the turn to try and force the issue.
Tyus has made the move and taken P4, but Fovarg is right there, just a 10th behind and looking for an immediate response. Tyus has managed to stretch that gap slightly to 3/10, finally giving himself a bit of breathing room.
Fovarg had to back out of it. He's clearly cooked his fronts trying to hold on, and now he's losing the car under rotation. Fovarg has regained his composure and is right back on the gearbox of Tyus, closing that gap to 2 tenths.
Wait, look at that! Tyus has actually moved up to third, but the gap back to Fovarg has opened up to half a second.
Fovarg must have had a messy exit there. He's lost his toe, and now he's got to manage the gap behind him rather than attacking ahead.
Moll has slipped back to fourth, and he's got a hungry Fovarg sitting just 3/10 behind him. Moll is feeling the heat. That gap has closed to 2/10 as they weave through this sector.
He is defending the inside line, but he is losing time on the exit by being so conservative with his throttle application.
Fovarg is trying to set up another run at Moll, but that gap has widened slightly to 4/10 as they hit the straight. He is chipping away at it again, closing back to 3/10 as pressure mounts in these closing minutes. Snape is absolutely glued to the back of Walters. Just a 10th separating them in this scrap for 11th.
He's trying to stay in the draft as long as possible, but he needs to make sure he doesn't cook his own brakes before the final lap.
Snape has snatched that position away. He's up to 11th after that move on Walters.
He timed that perfectly, committed to the outside line, and had the grip to pull it off.
It is getting incredibly tense out there as we head into the final 7 minutes of this race.
You can see it in the way they are taking the curbs. Everyone is pushing that little bit harder, taking more risks.
That move from Snape just now showed exactly how important it is to be patient when you are in a DRS train.
Exactly. He didn't panic. He just waited for the opportunity and made it stick without compromising his exit.
It makes me wonder if the leaders are feeling the same pressure, or if they're just focused on keeping a gap.
When you are leading, you feel every tiny twitch in the car, and you start second-guessing your own braking points.
I've always said that the most dangerous place to be is leading the final lap with a car right behind you.
Oh, it is psychological warfare, Hal. You are constantly looking in your mirrors instead of focusing on the racing line.
We have a few pro drivers like McFarquhar and Stokes who have really put on a show for us today.
That is the class difference. They know how to position the car to force errors from the less experienced drivers.
I just hope we get a clean finish to all of these ongoing battles across the field.
With the way these guys are driving, I wouldn't bet on it, but I sure hope they keep it on the tarmac.
Moll has been shuffled back to 6th and is now putting everything he has into chasing down Kruger Dorado with just 1/10 between them. Mal has lost a bit of his momentum. The gap has stretched out to 3/10 as we see him struggling for grip through the corner.
He's definitely starting to lose the rear end on the exits. That's going to cost him dearly if he can't settle the car down.
Stokes is right on the back of Mal now, 3/10 the difference, as he tries to climb back into the top 6.
He is showing some real pace here, but he needs to be careful not to overheat his tires with all this aggressive maneuvering.
Stokes has put the move on Mal, moved up to 6th, leaving him just 2/10 behind his next target.
He really caught Mal sleeping there. That was an opportunistic lunge that paid off perfectly.
Kosick is within striking distance of Stokes, holding that gap at 3/10 as they hunt for 6th. That gap to Stokes has grown to 4/10 now. Looks like Kosick is starting to fall out of that crucial toe.
He's understeering quite a bit through the long sweepers, which is just killing his ability to stay glued to the car ahead.
Kruger Dorado has fallen back to 9th. He's got a massive 2.5-second gap to bridge if he wants to catch Constable Barry. Kruger Dorado has plummeted down to 11th, and that gap to Constable Barry has blown out to nearly 18 seconds.
Something has gone seriously wrong there. He's either had a mechanical issue or a massive off-track excursion to lose that much time in one lap.
It is going from bad to worse for Kruger Dorado. He is down to 13th, and that gap to the leader pack is now approaching 47 seconds. Stokes is clinging on to 6th place, with Costa covering 4/10 behind him, desperate to take that spot away. Stokes has managed to breathe a bit easier. That gap is now out to 6/10.
He is driving a much cleaner line now, focusing on his own rhythm instead of reacting to what's happening in his mirrors.
Kushasik is still hunting for 6th, but he's finding it tough to bridge that 6/10 gap as we head into the final few minutes. He's nibbled a 10th off the gap, down to 5/10 now, but he's running out of time to force a mistake. Mal has climbed back up to 5th, but he's got a mountain to climb now with over a second to Faubourg.
He needs to stop looking at the gap and start finding a 10th every sector. Otherwise, Faubourg is going to coast home in 4th.
Mal is drifting further back. That gap is stretched out to 1.2 seconds as he struggles to find any extra pace. Kosick is finding a second win here. He's knocked that gap down to 4/10 and is looking for a way past Stokes. Still 4/10 in it. These two are inseparable as we tick down toward the final moments of the race. Mal is pushing the limits, setting a personal best, but Faubourg is just pulling away. The gap now at 1.4 seconds. Mal has managed to claw back a 10th, bringing that gap down to 1.3 seconds. But he needs a serious error from Faubourg to make this podium fight real. Kosick is still pushing, but that gap to Stokes has crept back out to half a second.
He's working that car hard. You can hear the revs climbing, but he's just not finding the rhythm to close the final door.
It's slipping away from Kosic. The gap is out to 0.6 now as we look like we're settling into these positions for the final push. Mull has a decent buffer behind him now with Stokes sitting over a second and a half back in 6th.
He's got a bit of breathing room to focus on his own race, but he can't afford any mistakes if he wants to keep that top 5 spot secure.
Mull has extended that cushion even further to 1.7 seconds, looking much more comfortable now.
He's found his flow. When you stop looking in your mirrors every 2 seconds, you'd be surprised how much time you find on the clock.
Kosic is clawing it back. He's back within 0.4 of Stokes as they start this penultimate lap. It's stretched back to half a second, which is a killer when you're running out of laps.
Kosic is clearly overdriving the entry to make up the distance, but he's just scrubbing off too much mid-corner speed to make the pass stick.
Mull is still pushing hard to close that gap to Fovard, but at 1.4 seconds, the clock is becoming his biggest enemy. Mull has found a little bit of extra pace, chipping that gap down to 1.2 seconds.
He is absolutely wringing the neck of that car now. He knows this is his last real chance to mount a challenge before the final lap.
That mistake in the technical section has cost Kosic dearly. The gap is out to nearly a full second now. He's pulled a 10th back, but at 0.8, with the clock winding down, he's going to need a miracle to challenge for 6th before we see the checkered flag. Mull is throwing everything at it, posting his fastest lap of the race, but he remains locked at 1.2 seconds behind Fovard. Mull has drifted back again. That gap is out to 1.5 seconds, and it's looking less and less likely he'll bridge it before the finish. Kosic is still fighting to bring that gap down 0.7 between him and Stokes as we reach the tail end of the race.
He is fighting understeer through the mid-corner, which is exactly why he can't get close enough to mount a serious attack.
Kosic is finding some late pace. He's slashed that gap down to half a second.
He's finally nailed the apex through the complex. Now he just needs to carry that speed through the final sector.
Bathurst is hunting a leader, but 1.2 seconds is a tough gap to close at this stage of the race.
He's been consistent, but Lemerick hasn't put a foot wrong. Bontakis needs something special on this final lap to change the order.
That gap has ticked up to 1.3 seconds, and time is absolutely evaporating for Bathurst.
He is pushing the car to the absolute limit of adhesion, but Lemerick is just too calm under pressure to let this one slip away.
Lemerick just has to keep his head down for the final few corners. He's got a comfortable margin over Bathurst, and victory is within his grasp. And Joel Lemerick crosses the line to take the checkered flag, a masterful lights to flag performance.
He never flinched, even after that safety car restart. That is exactly how you manage a race under pressure.
And John Bathurst brings it home in a well-deserved second, a brilliant recovery from his starting position to grab the silver. Adam Tyas rounds out the podium in 3rd, a solid, composed drive that keeps him in the hunt for the season standings. Fovard, Mull, Stokes, and Kosic round out the top 7 after what has been a relentless battle throughout the midfield.
Every single one of those drivers had to fight for their life in that pack, and that order really reflects who kept their cool when the tires started to go off.
Constable Barry, Snape, Walters, and Nadine cross the line to complete the rest of the top 11. A tough afternoon of racing for that group back there. Neil Constable Barry brings his machine home in 12th.
He stayed out of trouble today, and in this field, sometimes just finishing the race is a victory in itself.